All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the state. They said to serve Nigeria with all our strength, and this is an extraction from the national pledge. And it is a reminder that we have a duty in our individual and respective capacity to make Nigeria great in our own little quarter. Again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, Kike Atanda-Owo, and of course, I welcome you to the final month of the last quarter of Real Talk with Kike edition for 2023. And I think it's important for me to hear what On This Day Industry asks for us. When I return, I will give my submission on This Day Industry segment. Stay with me, I'll be right back.
On this day in history, December 5th, 1909, the era of the sailing cargo ship is indeed over in British Nigeria, where of the 503 cargo ships arriving at Lagos port this year, all but 3 are steamships. With only 3 being sailing ships suggests that steam power had become the dominant force in maritime trade for the region during the mentioned period. This shift had profound implications for trade, transportation efficiency, and the overall economic landscape.
All right, many thanks for staying with me. And of course, On This Day in History segment today, the era of the sailing cargo ship, and it's not over. And that is why we can see large transformation over the century of transcontinental and, of course, cross-border movement of goods from one sector, to the other. And of course, this sector of many countries is worth billions of dollars, while ours is still failing day by day because we are still exporting less. So can we do better? Is my message on This Day Industry segment. Can we do better in terms of, exporting more from the abundance of what we have been blessed with as a country in Nigeria? I think that's my takeaway from On This Day Industry segment. Now it's time for me to go and to get a message from my sponsors, for those who put me here. When I return, we'll dive straight into the main conversation. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, to celebrate the exceptional work of journalists over the years, especially in the last 365 days, I'm launching a special TV short series for the month of December titled Interviewing the Interviewers. And this series serves as a tribute to the consistent effort of ace journalists and impactful media practitioners in Nigeria, influencing the global narrative about Nigeria. It's an opportunity to delve into the works of we journalists, and we have contributed to shaping the perception of Nigeria and about the nation and on the world stage at large, and also to discuss how Nigerians are informed and educated on national's journey and struggle to development. And on the live show today, my guest is a veteran. His name is Reuben Abati. He is a journalist and former spokesperson to former President Goodluck Jonathan. We will be having highlights of the year with news across the country and, of course, across the globe. And we will be discussing global perception of our country through the lens of our journalism in Nigeria and media advocacy, balancing the roles and, of course, the biases and the media as a whole or entity when it comes to impact on our societal change and, of course, the challenges of journalism in modern times. He is, of course, my husband. And it's important for us to check his profile. And when I return, the conversation will continue. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, welcome to the show, Dr. Abati. It's a pleasure to have you on Real Talk with Kike today. Like I said on my Instagram page this morning that this is the second time you're appearing on Real Talk with Kike platform. The first time was actually on radio program 5 years ago, actually almost 5 years now. And I want to say many thanks for creating time to be here today. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being
Very
here.
good.
So, Doc, like I would like to call you today, like everybody know you as Dr. Abati. You've been a prolific, vanguard and of course a consistent journalist, over the years, using your voice, your views, your opinion, to shape the events in the public domain. And I'd like to ask you, how has it been thus far for you, both in your personal and professional lives?
Well, let's talk about the professional life, not the personal life. I mean, I've been in this space since 1985. I've been writing for the Nigerian press very actively. I've had my bylines in almost all the newspapers, whether it was the Sketch newspaper or Nigerian Tribune or Daily Times or The Guardian or name it, Observer, all the newspapers all over the place over the years. But eventually I ended up in the media. I even did romance journalism. I did social journalism. Hints, Channel, Hearts magazine and all of that. So I knew that territory. But when the universities were shut down between 1991 and 1992, around that period, for almost a year, I think from about 1991 to almost 1992, I then began to focus more actively on my journalism, which I was doing on a freelance basis before. So I ended up as a member of the editorial board of The Guardian, and I rose to become chairman of that editorial board, and I was chairman editorial board for about 11 years. In the course of my 21 years at The Guardian, I wrote columns, I wrote reviews, I wrote essays, I conducted interviews. Then in the year 2000, I then got, drafted sideways into broadcasting when Professor Patutomi established a magazine discussion intellectual program called Patito's Gang. And, we did that from 2000 to 2011 for about 11 years. And in between, when Professor Patutomi had to go for politics, so for about 2-3 years, I was the main anchor of that program. He simply just handed it over to me. And even when he came back, he still gave me the space to continue. And then in 2011, I went on to Abuja to be presidential spokesman and special advisor to President of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And I did that till 2015. And then, we lost the famous 2015 general elections. So by 2016, I went back to television, first tentatively, but I was also writing for the press. So since 2016, 2017, I've been even more active on television as lead anchor on the morning show on Arise News, and also as a presenter of the Sunday magazine program, This Day Live. And that's what I've been doing for the past, 7 years. So I've been in the media space for a while. You can see I've seen it on both sides, both print and broadcast. And I've also tried to take advantage of the social media space, which is, a reflection of the fact that we're in the age of convergence. And in the age of convergence, most journalists are, ambidextrous. They are multidextrous. They have their hands in just almost everything. In addition, of course, to other things that I do that may not be relevant here.
All right, many thanks for running us through your career path, and I must say it's been an interesting one for you. And I like the fact that you've also touched on technology, but I will be touching on that later on as we progress. But there have been various events, mounting down the year in the country, especially when it comes from when we started the year and where we are today. We've had the Naira redesign, we've had the election period that you mentioned, we've had, various, tribunal tussles, we've had, the swearing in, the subsidy cut off by the federal government, name it, and at the moment, how have all of these events, affected the average Nigerian, especially when it comes to you giving us an overview about the pulse of the people when it comes to the turnouts of the events in our country? Would you think, or would you say that it has affected the average Nigerian on the streets positively or negatively?
Okay, the usual thing that people do in December is to take a look at the year in review. And I've seen that people, they are in the month of December and they are reflecting on the year that was. It's not yet the year that was, yes, but it's the year that is in passing. Like tomorrow, today is December 5, tomorrow, Wednesday, December 6, the Times magazine is going to name Person of the Year, a tradition that magazine has sustained since 1927, pointing to persons, events, concepts that have affected the world for good or for ill in the course of the year. But I mean, maybe later we'll get to the international scene, but you want me to talk specifically about Nigeria. Now, in the past, people used to use the word annus mirabilis, annus horribilis. Well, I don't know which one to use for Nigeria in 2023, but clearly, the most momentous event that has happened in Nigeria in the year 2023 will be the general elections. The seventh in the cycle since the return to democracy in 2024. Now, at the beginning of the year, in the lead up to the election, a lot of people were saying, oh, this is the year that Nigeria will either sink or survive. I think all of us as Nigerians, we can look back and look forward and thank God that Nigeria did not sink, despite, predictions to the contrary. I mean, many occasions, people will predict that, oh, Nigeria is at the brink of the precipice. There's even a book that was written on that, but Nigeria survived. So it's a year when you can celebrate the resilience of the Nigerian people, the effect of the optimism of the people. Now let me talk about the elections. We had elections, February 25, the Presidential and National Assembly elections. Now the outcome of that was that the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, out of the 19 political parties that took part in that process, won with a little over 8 million votes. It was followed by the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, who scored above 6 million, and also the coming third, the candidate of the Labour Party, and that's Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Now, the Nigerians thought, oh, heavens will fall. Heavens have not fallen. Nigeria is still standing strong. We had the gubernatorial elections and House of Assembly elections on March 18 in 28 out of the 36 states of Nigeria. 8 remaining states are falling in the off-cycle category, something that was occasioned by the fact that since 1999, as a result of litigation, as a result of disputes, certain elections went off-cycle. The main cycle being 4 years, every 4 years. Third, we had off-cycle elections on November 11 in Kogi State, in Imo State, and also in Bayelsa State. Now, after all these elections, the question is, what lessons have we learned? Because the main thing about the general elections in Nigeria in 2023 was the Electoral Act 2022, which had very special provisions in terms of new developments. And this belief is that for you to have better elections, you must have electoral reform. You must deepen the framework, both institutional and electoral. And what the Electoral 2022 Act did, Electoral Act 2022 did, was that it gave people hope. with such provisions as Section 3, subsection 3, you are saying that you will get, INEC will be funded early enough, sections 47 and 50, dealing with the admissibility of electronic counting of electronic transmission of votes and the use of BVAS and IREV, even if the law in section 57 says IREV is not for resource collation, it's just for posting of results. There is a section there dealing with the rights of disabled people to be given rights. There is section 29, subsection 5, saying that if you are not a party to a particular primaries and you are not a member of the party, then you don't have the local standing. There are sections there, sections 112 to section 126, 129, dealing with electoral offenses. What do you do with electoral offenses? There is section 59 saying that if you are holding a political position, you cannot be part of the primaries. Quite a number of innovations, including the indication that campaign should start about 150 days before the main election itself, giving political parties enough time, early enough time to start the campaigns. So some of those innovations were supposed to, generate a better framework, a better election. But after the general elections, what have we seen?
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when I return, the conversation will continue. Stay with me. This is Real Talk with Kike. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. This is Real Talk with Kike, and of course, the session for December on Real Talk with Kike is the interview, and of course, we have Dr. Reuben Abati, who have been throwing light on the issues at hand, and of course, on the electoral challenges and the election that took place this year, and all the challenges that faced us. But now, with all that you've shared thus far, Dr. Abati, the government, with all you've shared, is a major player in all of these events. We've had the power switch, from President Buhari to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the stakes have been continuously high and must remain real on this platform. So what's your score thus far and your comment for the government, in the era of governance and, of course, that concerns the people of Nigeria?
Okay, I think it may well be early days yet to begin to give definitive statements about the performance of the Tinubu administration. But what we have seen from the reports by the Tinubu administration and by observers is that, major stakeholders in the Tinubu administration have said, one, the government inherited a bankrupt economy. Number two, they've also made it very clear that they are ready, President Tinubu speaking directly, to inherit both liabilities and assets. And I think that that's an important statement, because what it means is that, look, once you've been given power, you can't make excuses. You have been elected to solve the problems. Don't keep glancing backwards, move forward. And I guess it was because of that the very first day President Tinubu took over power, he announced that fuel subsidy was gone. That was not even part of his speech. But the government that he took over from, kept postponing the evil day, as they did on many other issues. So he showed courage and said, for this economy to work, we can't continue to subsidize inefficiency. Now, that has translated into a lot of hardship for Nigerians. Exchange rate crisis is also there. The Naira is doing a yo-yo game, fluctuating. It's over $1,000 in the parallel market to the dollar, driving up the cost of everything. Inflation is 27.33%. The Tinubu administration has had to ask for a supplementary budget. Now that supplementary budget was, approved by the National Assembly. Now for the 2024 appropriation bill of over 27.5 billion, the government is now asking for permission to borrow money, because for the administration to follow up on its proposal to have a 1 trillion naira, $1 trillion economy, or whatever, 1 trillion naira, I think, it will have to fund the budget. And to fund that budget, the government is borrowing like almost 100% of it. They're asking for permission to go and borrow. Now, what does this mean? What it means is that Nigeria is in dire straits. Things are difficult. So going forward, and that's looking forward into 2024, a lot will depend on what the Tinubu administration is able to do about the economy. The president has been traveling up and down. He's been very active, engaging principally in economic diplomacy. And economic diplomacy serves its purpose. He's been to China, he's been to India. He's, as we speak now, in Dubai at COP28, looking for investments. He's been to Germany. But the political issues still have to be resolved. I'd ask the question, what lessons did we learn in Nigeria from the 2023 electoral process? And that will depend a lot on government. So
talking about the 2023 election, because politics is always an area of influence for the direction of our country, and you have been in the corridor of power and active politics as well. What are your words for politicians, you know, for instance, let me use the FCT minister, your good friend Kike, and how they should unite above, you know, party sentiment or towards the, and channel their energy towards the goal of the common goal of a greater Nigeria?
Okay, one, the emphasis should be on service.
Okay.
Now, I've cited the example of a country like Malawi, where Chakwera, the president of Malawi, said his country will not attend COP28 because the country has just taken a loan from the IMF and that they have to save funds. Malawi is not in COP28 in Dubai, which will end on December 12, November 30 to December 12. Now, Nigeria is there. Nigeria is not even sure about the number of people that are there. One person says 422 delegates from the federal government. Another person says 590. But on the website of the summit itself, it says Nigeria is there with 1,411 persons who are in attendance. So the political leadership, you know, has to focus more on service rather than privileges. In the supplementary budget, Nigerians were riled when they saw that so much money was being devoted to renovation of State House, to purchase of vehicles for the office of the First Lady, and all of those details, and purchase of vehicles for members of the National Assembly. The examples that we have seen from a country like Malawi, to cite an example, and also from Zambia, where you have Ichilema Akande as the president, is that, look, when your country is in trouble, you don't splurge. You don't do like you can just spend money anyhow. The Nigerian government, given the circumstances that I have described earlier, is asking the people to make necessary sacrifices. Nigerians are saying, let the government too show good example and let the sacrifice making begin with it. Because Nigerians are saying, let us breathe. There have been protests in Port Harcourt, protests in Osun, protests in other parts of Nigeria, because people are saying, look, you have to put the people first and put Nigeria first. Okay. The second part has to do with the political framework. And there's a tricky thing there. One of the things coming out of the 2023 election process is that people are complaining about the judiciary. Okay? They are complaining about lack of trust in INEC. They are complaining that, look, the Electoral Act, there are specific sections of that Electoral Act 2022 that will still need to be reviewed. And there are sections of the Constitution with regard to electoral framework that will have to be reviewed. Section 131, Section 134, Section 285, from 1 to 14 in 285, Section 59.2 of the Electoral Act, and all of those sections, Section 29.5 of the Electoral Act, so as to deepen the electoral framework, so that in 2027, we don't have the same kind of situation that we had in 2023.
So talking about in 2027, because we have switched into the administration and this administration, and of course it's the 7th month since the handover in May 2019, 9 to be precise. And many promises, you know, have been made, and of course the expectations of the people have been climaxed, if you ask me, in terms of reason over the time. And expectations like the likes of Dangote refinery, you know, being able to cater for the demand of petroleum consumption, and of course even the promises of palliative as well by the government, you know, for all the masses. So my question now is, with all that you've shared thus far, are the people really getting the full end of the bargain from this administration based on the promises that they brought to fall during election? What's your quick take on this before we go on a break?
Well, I mean, the thing speaks for itself.
Okay.
Many of the issues are still on the table. The economy is in the doldrums. But the economic managers that are in the saddle now, they are saying they will find a way around the problem, they will solve it. So expectations are high. Nigerians will expect that the key issues about palliatives, about new minimum wage, about providing opportunities for the people, and ensuring that the restored hope agenda, which is the theme of the 2024 budget, will be realized. That is very important. The second thing, of course, is that they have to see the body language of the leaders, that they actually mean well for them. Otherwise, and in 2027, you will see that by the time the next election round comes, people will be far too desperate in this country. And we shouldn't wait for that 2027. What is required is political will, leadership, determination on the part of President Tinubu, who has said that he will take assets with liabilities and he will give Nigerians hope, he will restore hope, he will give them opportunities. He has to walk the talk.
Okay, talking about walk the talk, because I feel journalists or journalism is fast evolving in Nigeria today, and you have been a stakeholder, you know, being the chief editor of The Guardian in the print media, and of course even you had to run us through all your career paths on TV, online, when it comes to online media, and of course on radio. And I would like your comments, you know, as regards to the contribution of journalists, you know, especially with regards to, you know, delivering their duty to Nigeria over the years, even during the era where they were, you know, restrained in the Buhari's administration, because I remember then that there were restrictions on how media or how journalists should deliver their message, you know, beyond using fines and penalties to gag media houses and media practitioners. What's your take thus far to journalists out there in terms of shaping the narrative to the world? Well,
Nigerian journalists have been here even before the making of Nigeria. The first newspaper was published in 1859 by Henry Townsend, Ìwé Ìròyìn fún àwọn ará Ẹ̀gbá àti Yorùbá in Abeokuta. So print journalism came first in this country. And that's because of the Gutenberg Revolution, you know, which the press, the printing press. And since about 1891 to 1930, the print was also there in Nigeria in the forefront of the struggle against colonial rule. The NSC coolies of this world, Henry Carr, Akinsanya, Akintola, Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, the publisher, you know, of the West African Pilot, which in 1949 promised Nigerians that show the light and the people will find a way. Okay, post-independence, post the Clifford Constitution of 1922 and all that, the media remained there, okay? And they were part of the independence struggle. After that, the media continued to play a role. So the character of the Nigerian media has been a crusading media, defending the rights of the people, fighting for the people. And it reached a turning point in 1992 when the Babangida administration introduced the deregulation of the broadcasting medium. In 1959, October 31, 1959, the Obafemi Awolowo government in the Western region had established the television. But by 1992, there was an explosion of radio and television. And here we are. The media has been very consistent, and we have seen it during the struggle for June 12 actualization. We have seen it at every moment. The duty of the journalist is to call the people in power to order. And that's guaranteed under Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution. Our job is to hold leaders accountable. And we have the right to do so, again under Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution. And so this is why the Nigerian media has been a crusading media. But we're also guided by ethics, as defined by the Nigerian Press Organization, which is the umbrella body of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, the NUJ, the Newspaper Proprietors Association, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, to say we have to be objective, we have to be fair, we have to be accurate, we have to act in the public interest. But journalists are also human beings. So every attempt to gag journalists will not succeed, because we are the fourth estate of the realm. We have a right under the Constitution, and all the people who have tried to gag journalists in this country, kill journalists, drive them out of town, they have invariably failed. So that's why journalists must be courageous. But I always tell every journalist, try to be knowledgeable, because you can't, this is a profession where you can't fake it.
All right, many thanks for all your submission thus far. We'll go on a quick break, and when I return, the conversation will continue. This is Real Talk with Kike. Stay with me, I'll be right back. All right, glad to know you're still right there with us. In case you just joined the show, today's first edition for the month of December, and I, Kike Atanda-Owo, will have exclusively launched the series titled Interviewing the Interviewers, a set of editions that is exclusively reserved, for journalists and media practitioners in our industry or in our country, Nigeria, to have their pulse, their comments, over their work, and of course the country in terms of the general touching on all the events that took place this year, and look for how we can be united and not be divided in Nigeria over the courses of election. So my first appearance guest for the series is none other than my life partner and a seasoned journalist, Dr. Reuben Abati. Many thanks for all you've shared thus far. I must say thank you so much for lending your voice on issues that affect us all. But quickly, I will open the phone lines. I understand that there are many people who are also trying to call in right now. The number to call is 080-988-774000. It's showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook, both on Real Talk with Kike, on Instagram page, and on Silverbird platform as well. Dr. Reuben, many thanks again. Like I said earlier, let's get relaxed now with this side of this interview, because you have your own fair share of criticism. I would like to touch on that because your views on some certain topics in the public domain, there are quite a number of criticism on it, where people have labeled you, so to speak, as PDP sentimental journalist, or being biased as a journalist. How have you been able to clear the air, to remain neutral in terms of, professionalism? And how are you be able to, battle with the perception of the people out there, especially when it comes to the terms of bias? What's your take on this?
Okay, I was quoting the Code of Conduct for Journalists earlier on, as defined by the Press Organization, which says journalists must be objective, they must be fair, they must be balanced, they must be accurate. Okay, but journalists are also human beings.
Absolutely.
Now, the test of it is for you to be professional. All those criticisms don't bother me, really, because I know that, I'm fair, I'm balanced, I'm accurate. Now, today is the PDP attacking me, saying, oh, he's against us. He's now supporting President Tinubu because he's looking for appointment. And I laugh at that. I must have had like four or so appointments.
Political appointments?
I've been on governing boards. I was a pioneer member of Lagos State Security Trust Fund. I was on the governing council of Olabisi Onabanjo University. I've been presidential spokesman, and so on and so forth. People have not even, had one chance.
Apologies, I have to interrupt your line of call. We have Mahmoud calling in. Mahmoud, please make your points count. We're pressed for time. Many thanks for calling on Real Talk.
Good afternoon to Mr. Reuben. Honestly, I'm an intellectual journalism. I just want him to keep up the good work, and I'm happy to see him on and it's always making me proud.
I have to let you go. Doc, with all that you've shared thus far, reflecting on your career, I like the fact that you opened the floor with, carrying us through your career path. You have been celebrated home and abroad. Even till last week, you have been celebrated in UK, regarding all the impactful work you've been doing thus far. What are some of the standout moments or stories that have, that had a profound impact on you as a journalist?
That's difficult because it's been quite some journey. But, the only thing I can say is that the pressure of the deadline. In our work, the deadline is the main thing. If you are a columnist, you know that you have a page to fill. That pressure, people like me are not allowed to have what is called writer's block because you have to fill the space. The editor will be on your neck. Your readers are expecting you to write. So that's just what drives you. And then even on television, the deadline is that you have to show up. You can't play around with time. If the program starts at 8 o'clock, you have to be on your seat by 8 o'clock, except you are sick, or you have some other engagements. And so the pressure cooker life, that we journalists live, it's a perpetual thing.
Okay, so
what I like about the journalism profession is that when I was at The Guardian, our publisher, Mr. Alex Ibro, he used to say, look, you can work here until your walking stick fails you. But when you look at people like Walter Cronkite, people like Attenborough, the people, who practice journalism in the United States, and they are still there in their 80s, in their 90s. So it looks like this is a profession, really, that you can practice till your walking stick fails you. So there's that security of tenure. Although people say, well, there's no money in journalism. But if you are looking for money, don't go into journalism.
All right.
Go into banking, oil and gas.
All right.
Or be an entrepreneur like Kike.
All right. Many thanks for your insights right there. Earlier when I asked you about the criticism that comes with our work or with your work, let's go to the online space, because in the society today, there is hardly anyone who is above dragging. Allow me to use that word because that's the consumers of our content when it comes to the online world that is being used are dragging, But what I mean is that that is being thrown under the bus, If you goof as a person or you don't buy into the idea, how do you think the online space should be managed? Or better still, what are your words, to Nigerian youth online who respond to the works of journalism that go viral without taking time to actually pay attention to the choice of words, to what is actually driving the content regarding facts?
Okay, look. The online space has come to stay. What Walter Benjamin calls the technical reproducibility of the age. In other words, the effect of technology. We're in the age of artificial intelligence. So the thing is even going to get worse with text, with images. But the social media space in Nigeria, the problem we have with it is, one, it grants anonymity. It's very democratic. People can go there and say what they like under the cover of anonymity. But I think what we need to do is not regulation. What we need to do is for people to pay attention to culture and manners. Some of the people who are abusing me, I just look at them and I say, who are these people? What is their upbringing? So that's very important. Second, people should also learn to be civil. It's not when government says we are introducing social media bill, we are doing this. What manner of human being are you? That is also very important. Number 3 is education. And in this regard, I'm echoing Professor Wale Soyinka, who in addressing the same subject says, we just need to educate people. Our country has lost values. The value system is down. One young man who has not passed school cert will go on social media, will be abusing his grandfathers. Now, how was that person brought up? So we really need a general reorientation, but that the social media will disappear. No, it will even get more influential, particularly with artificial intelligence, which is one of the concepts that Time Magazine has listed, has shortlisted as Concept of the Year or Person of the Year.
All right, many thanks again, Dr. Abati, for all your submission thus far. But now let me touch on the time to get your pulse and comments, especially on the media's impact on social change, because I feel that media and democracy go hand in hand. How essential is a free and vibrant media to the sustenance of democracy, especially in our country, Nigeria, today? That's my first question to you. I'm trying to manage time right now. My second question is, what are your comments on your own colleagues on moving Nigerian forward, on the part that they feel that, you know, they now have to come together in terms of collectivity and collaborative development of this country with the current administration, even though we are saying that we need to give them time before we can say that, you know, how successful they have been in terms of all their deliverables during campaign. What's your take on these two questions? Quickly, sir.
Okay, number one, I mean, to journalists, well, we can't stop doing what we do. We have to
journalism and democracy.
We have to keep informing the people, and journalism is at the center of democracy, as we have seen in many jurisdictions. Because what are the values in journalism? Free choice, free speech, the importance of public opinion in terms of setting an agenda for community. Those are the basic principles guiding journalists, and we can never drop the ball in that regard, whether we are practicing here or we are practicing elsewhere. But it's also a risky profession. Take a look at what happened in October 7, when the Hamas attacked Israel, you know, and taking about 240 persons hostage. When that matter became an issue, and it's still on till now, with Israel, the Israeli Defense Forces bombarding Hamas, chasing the Palestinians from the north to the south. Journalists have been caught in the crossfire. So it's also a very risky job. But most people don't look at the risky part of our job. They look at the fact that we speak. Oh, they say it's opinionated. We are opinionated for public good. So the second question is about, did I miss that? About what the political class you do. Look, put Nigeria first. That is what is important. Whether you are in government or you are out of government, Nigeria is more important than everybody. And as my former boss used to say, nobody's individual ambition is more important than Nigeria. If all of us can just have that sense of purpose, that sense of unity, this country has potentials. It's a gifted country. It has resources, both human and material, and all of us can work together, irrespective of tribe, ethnicity, or religion, to move this country forward. Why is it that all of us excel as individuals, and we can't come together and make sure that Nigeria excels? That is the challenge for every ordinary Nigerian. But the leaders must also play their part.
All right, many thanks for all your submission thus far, Dr. Reuben Abati. It's great to have you on this platform. And I think I would like to end this segment with the fact that you said, put Nigerian first. Nigeria is more important than everybody. That's the word I will be closing with on this segment of this platform. Before we move to the second last segment of the show, which we call trending. You know, trending, these are stories that binds us together as Nigerians. And the only trending story that we can take today, because of time, is that of Peter Obi and Atiku and others that have condemned, you know, Tinubu's delegation to COP28 in UAE. And I feel that before I get to your submission, let me quickly say this. You know, it's imperative to first acknowledge the global context in terms of the major contributors like China and the US, you know, significantly, you know, in terms of the impact when it comes to the carbon emissions, you know, while Africa and including Nigeria, you know, bears the brunt of the climate change, despite, you know, contributing only 4% of the emissions. Now, the concerns raised above the delegation's size and associated costs, even based on what Dr. Reuben Abati have shared earlier, are valid. Nigerians sent 590 official delegates. So some quarters are saying, another one are saying is not up to that. With an individual 821, you know, listed as overflow. This has sparked calls from opposition parties for transparency, for a roll call, a Nation Assembly probe into the expenses incurred. So So whilst it's crucial for Nigeria to have a voice in global climate, discussion, the opposition rightly points out the necessity, of prudent spending, especially in a time when physical, how would I say that, responsibility is paramount. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's past remarks on the environmental issue add an interesting layer, if you ask me, to this discussion in moving Nigerian forward, just like Dr. Reuben Abati have shared earlier, in terms of transparency when it comes to the audit of delegations' expenses in crucial addresses that concerns wastefulness, and of course, this is not only to ensure accountability, but also to provide clarity, I emphasize clarity, on the impact of Nigeria's representation of COP28. So balancing diplomatic engagement with responsibility is the key to navigating these complex issues at hand. Doctor, let me come to you quickly. What's your take thus far on this trending?
No, well, I agree with you absolutely, all the points you have made. The key thing that African leaders need to pay attention to is accountability in the management of the people's resources. And earlier on, I cited the example of the president of Zambia and the president of Malawi, that in moments of austerity, when the Nigerian government is saying Nigerian people should make necessary sacrifices, in a country where we are importing gari from China, in a country where we are importing adire, traditional batik from China, we can't be going to a conference and we are going with the same number of delegates as China. And that was the point Mr. Peter Obi was making, that look, Nigeria should focus more on production rather than junkets. The government officials, in trying to defend the attendance, they've been contradicting themselves. One says 590, one says 422. Nobody knows the exact number. But what the website says is that the total number of Nigerians in attendance is 1,411. And reporters who are on the ground there, they have said they have not seen some of these Nigerians, even at the Nigerian pavilion. And I had to advise our own correspondent that maybe you should go to the shopping malls in Dubai. They may be there, or they may be in the hotel rooms, because the PDP was saying some of the people who have gone there are mistresses who have no job going to COP28. But in terms of the larger objectives, I think President Tinubu so far has represented Nigerian well in looking for partnership, in looking for investors, but half of those people that are there, please, I hope they will come back home, as I have also made the point. I hope they will not disappear into the deeper recesses of the deserts of Dubai and not come back home, because there are so many. I hope we'll do a head count.
All right, many thanks, Dr. Reuben Abati. It's a pleasure to have you on the platform today, and I must say thank you so much for all that you've shared thus far. I think with that, we've come to the end of another edition of Real Talk with Kike. Indeed, I had an awesome show on today's edition of Real Talk with Kike, courtesy my resourceful guest, Dr. Reuben Abati, my life partner and a veteran journalist in the industry. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you as I journey through life. Many thanks again for creating time to be on this note. Till I catch you, till I come your way on Thursday. Remember to catch me on Inspiration FM 92.3 tomorrow at 5 p.m. And on that note, I say be kind to one another and bye now.